You're right. There must be some Christmas gremlins or something, man.
Yeah, Christmas gremlins, man.
No, it's back. Give it to the quarterback. No, we got the running back. What? Straight off the couch. Here are the stories we're going to be chasing today.
Today we're going to be talking about the games from Week 16 that had a lot of impact on what happened, and we're going to be talking about upcoming Week 17. But before I get too far into this, let me bring in my broadcast partner, the ever affable and effervescent Duke Kaboom. Duke, how are you today?
Yes, we Canada. I'm good, buddy. How you doing?
I'm here, man. I'm on this side of the dirt, so you know.
It's always a good sign. The alternative sucks.
Yeah, that's true. Let me bring up. I didn't because we had some tech issues.
Technical issues?
So
yeah.
Let's just jump right into it. We had only a few games that had playoff implications. The one Thursday night did have playoff implications, and that was the Broncos at the Chargers. That was a really good football game for the most part.
What a game that was. Broncos basically owned that first half, and it looked like they were going to run away with it. And then we had the fair catch free kick field goal to end the half, which
that was freaky.
Kind of gave the...
That was freaky. I mean, I've been watching football for a long time, and I know that they said the last time it was done was, 1976 or something like that?
Yeah, it's like 50 years ago, they're saying. They tried it. Actually, Jim Harbaugh tried it in, I want to say 2012, when he was with the 49ers, and they missed it. And he says that he wants to have a free kick every game. It's pretty cool how that worked out. The free catch was interfered with, so they tacked on an extra 15 yards for unsportsmanlike or whatever they wanted to call it. It was 15-yard penalty, which brought them up to just over the 50-yard line. And to watch a free kick field goal was kind of interesting. You've got a holder, it's on the ground, but the holder's already set up, and he's just waiting, and there's no snap lineup where everybody's just lined up and they can block it.
And the defense has to be on the field, but they can't do anything.
Yeah, they just got to stand there. It was so weird. It was just I was like, what am I watching right now? Even the players looked confused.
They haven't seen it in their lifetime, man. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was that was interesting. Now, that gave the Chargers some momentum going into the half to make their adjustments, and they came out firing in the second half.
That seemed to be the impetus for a sea change in the way things played out in the second half, man.
Yeah, and Broncos end up losing the game to the Chargers at home, 34-27 final score. Both those teams stand at 9-6 now and are very much in the playoff race.
Then we had two Saturday games. The early window was Texans at Chiefs. That didn't really have much playoff implications other than to cement the fact that the Chiefs are going to, I think they locked up the number one seed for the AFC in that game.
They haven't got it yet. Now, if Buffalo lost, it would have been a lock for sure. But 14-1, I can't see them not being the number one seed. That game was kind of lackluster. It looked like the refs were helping the Chiefs early in the game. There was some really weird penalties. There was some very KC penalties that went the other way. It was just like
for December football, and I know it was a Saturday. Both those Saturday games were really sloppy.
Yeah, they both looked like they were playing in week 3. They're trying to get their footing. I agree with you.
And so the Chiefs wind up pulling one out over the Texans, 27-19 Chiefs. Nothing really spectacular happened to this game, though. It was exactly what you'd expect from a Chiefs game this season. It was a one-score game. It didn't really go right down to the wire, but it went in, pretty far into the fourth quarter before the Texans realized they were out of it. So,
yeah, and the Texans didn't have anything going for them. I think those penalties really kind of got under their skin and kind of made them feel defeated. They didn't really seem to have anything to play for, and then they lost, one of their wide receivers to looks like a season-ending injury. and that slowed the pace of the game down to.
I think that affected Stroud.
Yeah,
because he was crying and visibly shaken up on the sideline because it was one of his friends and a wide receiver who actually last year got knocked out about the same time and missed the playoffs, and Stroud felt responsible for putting the ball where he put it and all that stuff, and he was visibly shaken and he never really regained his composure for the end of the game.
Yeah, so Chiefs win that game in the end, 27-19. Chiefs now have a record of 14-1, and the Texans are 9-6. And it really doesn't change anything. Both these teams are locked into the playoffs.
And that brings us to another one that actually had some implications one way or the other. Steelers at Ravens, and Steelers. If the Steelers win this game, they pretty much lock the AFC North. But they didn't. They fell to the Ravens, and now they're tied up record-wise, but I think it goes to strength of schedule and some other qualifiers. So the AFC North is still kind of open.
Yeah, Ravens looked really good in this game too, by the way. The Steelers have been their Achilles heel in this division, especially since Lamar took the spot of QB. He was 1-4 or something like that against the Steelers. And wow, Lamar still looks like he is having an MVP season, and Derrick Henry just pounding the rock.
Yeah, Derrick Henry's playing some of the best football of his life. He really is. But the Steelers fall to the Ravens 34-17, a pretty convincing victory too. It wasn't like it was a squeaker. It was. I mean, I bet that a lot of the Steeler players went in the locker room and thought, I got to re-examine my life, because it was fairly convincing for that big of a game at this late in the year.
Yeah, and now both these teams sit at 10-5. That division is pretty much wide open, and we have, the Browns are eliminated, but the Bengals still have a shot at the playoffs if they keep playing good football like they have been. So we'll see what happens in the next 2 weeks. This one's not over.
Not at all. And another game that happened on Sunday had playoff implications. Eagles at Commanders.
Big game.
And
excellent football game too.
I know we talk about this a lot with Coach Blackwell. Those Commanders unis with the classic red and yellow, those are so sharp, man. Those are such good looking uniforms.
I really like the burgundy and gold.
That's just such a good look, man.
It's got that old Redskins feel to it, and I'm glad they stuck with the color scheme when they went through all the changes with that team and the franchise and everything, and they didn't go out and switch colors, because a lot of teams would do that if they're trying for a rebrand, right?
Right, yeah, but they didn't. They kept their color scheme, and actually they kind of modernized it, and they look so sharp. But Commanders,
yeah, every one of their uniforms looks amazing. Like even their white jerseys with the kind of pixelated numbers, they've got the dotted numbers. They look sharp too. Like they just did a really good job with the uniforms for that team.
But the Commanders wind up winning this one 36-33. Saquon Barkley had 100 yards before the first quarter was over, and it looked like this was going to be a Philadelphia rout. But Hurts goes down. With what apparently is a concussion of some sort. They put him in the blue tent and took him downstairs for all sorts of evaluation. But it was a really good, really competitive game all the way until the end when the Commanders finally put it away.
Yeah, and I mean, losing Hurts, I think, loses some of the mojo for that team. He's a leader on that team, obviously. The quarterback has to be a leader. They're used to playing with them, but like even the defensive guys, you could see them kind of crushed when Jalen went into the blue tent.
Yeah, it affected everybody. I was texting with a buddy of mine. He goes, how can they win this? So you just keep giving it to Saquon Barkley. That's how you win this.
Yeah, just keep passing Saquon the rock. And they did, but the Commanders, for a second team this year that had 5 turnovers and still came back to win. The only other team to do it was the Lions.
And that brings us to another game with playoff implication. Vikings at Seattle. The Vikings are trying to keep pace with the Lions, and Seattle wants to lock up the West, which is still, they have not done so yet. There's still some questions going on out there. So, but the Seattle falls to the Vikings 27-24.
Yeah, and Vikings came back at the, final 11th hour, I guess we want to call it, in the fourth quarter. This was a competitive game. It was a good football game, and Sam Darnold's just got some magic. I don't know. I think they're at 13-2, the Vikings. That NFC North is just a super strong division. I think Sam Darnold has the same number of wins with the Vikings as he does in his entire career.
I think that happened like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. It's insane. And he's like you said, he's playing really good football. And if I remember right, they only brought him in on a 1-year deal because they drafted McCarthy.
Yeah, because they had J.J. McCarthy, who went out before the season started, tore his ACL or something.
But how do you tell Darnold, okay, we're done with you after the year he's had?
I don't think they do. I think what they do is they sign him to another 1 year, maybe a 2-year deal. That guy's getting paid regardless. He's going to go somewhere if the Vikings don't pick him up. And then maybe they have JJ kind of in a mentorship role where, Sam Darnold can show him the ropes of being a NFL quarterback. I can't believe I even said that, but Sam Darnold's playing good football.
Well, they can always franchise tag him, but if you franchise tag a quarterback, you got to pay him the average of the top 5 salaries in the league, and that's going to bankrupt a lot of teams, man. So
I don't know if they can franchise a guy that they only have on a 1-year deal because he's free agent. So
yeah,
I don't know how that works.
That'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. But the Vikings wind up pulling it off 27-24. And the only other game that really had playoff implications was last night games, Saints at Packers. Packers, they blanked the Saints. It was 34-0 Packers, and the Packers secured their place in the playoffs.
Yeah, so first shutout of the season in the NFL. 0 points on the board for the Saints. Man, the Saints are banged up, though. They have no offense. Spencer Rattler looked like absolute garbage. He was just throwing the ball wherever he could throw it, and they were sloppy throws. I don't even think he had a receiver in the area multiple times, and they never called intentional grounding because he was out of the pocket. But, I mean, I was just like, who are you throwing the ball to?
Right? I mean, that's pretty much, yeah. And that brings us to the middle of the deal before we could bring in Coach Blackwell. Teams that are eliminated from the playoffs are, for the AFC, are the Jets, Cleveland, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Las Vegas, and New England. There are 3 others that technically they have a shot, but there have to be a plane crash, and that's like Cincinnati, Miami, and Indianapolis. Everybody else, so Indianapolis, Miami, Cincinnati, Jets, Browns, Jaguars, Titans, Raiders, and Patriots are completely out of the playoffs. If the playoffs were to start today for the AFC, the number 1 seed would be Kansas City. Number 2 would be Buffalo, and right now, number 3 would be Pittsburgh.
That's because they win the tiebreak over Baltimore based on win percentage, I believe.
I think it's strength of schedule because their percentage is both 667. But Pittsburgh has and they're both 3.
I know what the tiebreaker is. It's percentage in conference games.
And it is in conference. Yeah, in conference, the Pittsburgh is 7-3 and Baltimore is 6-4. So that's the tiebreaker there. And looking on the edge of the wild card, we got the Chargers and Denver. Those are the two teams on the wild card hunt, both with 9-6, and both have just. I mean, they played. Did they play over the weekend? No.
Yeah. So the Chargers played Thursday against the Broncos, and they won that bout. And then Colts played Tennessee, I believe.
I'm talking about each other. They played each other 2 weeks ago. That was a really good game. They're pretty evenly matched teams. So that is on the AFC side.
And we have Miami, Cincinnati, and Indy basically in that hunt for the wild card if everything goes perfect and they spin the bottle, teams win out, other teams in other divisions and conferences lose. There's all these I think mathematical equations that have to happen.
I think the way the Bengals get in is there's a midair collision between 2 jets. One is carrying the Chargers and the other one is carrying Denver.
Yeah, it's maybe if Baltimore and Pittsburgh lose out for the rest of the year and Cincinnati wins out. Does that work?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, because they're both 10 wins, and since he's only got 7, so yeah, it has to be a wild card spot. It has to be Chargers and Broncos. Yeah, their planes basically have to fly into each other in order for Cincinnati to have a shot at this point. You're right.
And that brings us to the NFC picture. Teams who are completely eliminated: Dallas, Arizona, San Francisco, New Orleans, Chicago, Carolina, and the Giants are completely eliminated. I think the Giants were eliminated on Halloween. I think that's the math worked out. Halloween, they were like, okay, you're done for the year. Go ahead and call it in.
Yeah.
In the wild card hunt are Washington, Tampa Bay, and Seattle. Those are the three teams right now that still have wild card possibilities.
Yeah, so Seattle, basically, their only shot is Rams lose out and they win out, I think, is the only thing there. Because one team's 9 wins, the other's 8. Tampa Bay's hopes are basically
they have to beat Atlanta basically when they play them next week.
Well, they don't have Atlanta anymore. Atlanta's beat them twice this year.
Or not Atlanta,
basically, Tampa has to win out and Atlanta has to lose at least one game. Yeah.
So that division is still wide open, and it's crazy because they're both 8-7, and you know they're just beating each other up is what they're doing.
Yeah, and Washington has to win basically one more game, I believe, to secure their wild card spot.
But currently, the NFC standings are as follows: Detroit has the number 1 seed, followed by Philadelphia. That loss over the weekend really hurt Philadelphia, man. They were really nipping on the buds of Detroit, and they were that last game of the year was going to decide basically who has the number 1 seed and home field advantage, and Detroit's now winning that particular contest. So it'd be Detroit, Philadelphia, the Rams for the NFC West at 9-6, Atlanta at 8-7 for the NFC South, Minnesota for the first wild card seed, which 13-2 clinched. And last night, the Packers clinched when they won. Packers are 11-4. And like you said earlier, on the cusp, we still got Washington, Tampa, and Seattle.
Now, the interesting thing about this NFC, we've got Detroit, Philadelphia, Minnesota, and Green Bay have all clinched. The fact that 3 of these teams are in the NFC North and Minnesota and Detroit have the same record, if Detroit doesn't win out and the Vikings do, Minnesota becomes the number 1 seed. And Detroit would fall into either the 5 or 6 spot, depending on how these next 2 weeks play out.
And Minnesota closes out against Detroit for the season. The last season game is
for week 18, so for sure, which we don't even have a schedule for. None of those games are scheduled yet.
We know who's playing who. We just don't have a time. I can pretty much guarantee you the Bears and Patriots are going to be a noon game.
Oh, I mean, they should just play rock paper scissors at the 50-yard line, and whoever gets the best 2 out of 3 wins the game. Like, because I don't really think either of these teams have shown too much improvement. Well, I mean, the New England Patriots almost beat the Bills on the weekend, which I was quite shocked. We've seen improvement on that side of the game. It's too late to be playing good football.
Well, no,
Chicago.
No, it's not. I take issue with that. I really do. Because if you remember, a couple of years ago, Detroit started off, they were like 0-6, and they finished the season strong. And they've kind of been on a streak since that last game of the year when they beat Green Bay to keep Green Bay out of the number 1 seed for the division.
That's fair. Go into the offseason as a winner and use that momentum into the following season. Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Especially if you're keeping the coaching staff and you're building something, get them in the right mindset. Yeah.
Now, your Bears are a better team than mine on paper, but, man, they didn't look like they had much going on the weekend.
One of the people I follow on Chicago media is Lawrence Holmes. And I was watching his podcast on YouTube, and 2 weeks ago, last week, he goes, "I'm just going to tell everybody now, just don't watch the last 3 games of the season. Just do yourself a favor." He goes, "I have to watch. It's my job. I'm in the media, but Go work in the garage or do some laundry or spend time with the family. Christmas is coming up. Maybe do that." But and so I didn't take his advice to heart. I had it on, but I wasn't watching real close. And I remember like halfway through the first quarter texting Chris, who we've talked about on the show, and because we were playing Detroit, he's a Detroit fan. And like halfway through the first quarter, I go, "Yeah, I think it's time for me to go play with my new vinyl. I'm just going to return, just going to have a little mix in the bedroom, because it's just." They're just so. Ever since that Washington lost, they started going downhill. But they were competitive against Green Bay, Detroit, and Minnesota, and they all came down to a last-second mistake made by the coaching staff to cost them the game, so they got rid of the coach. And since they got rid of the coach, they have not even been competitive.
Yeah, it's funny how that all works out. That, it's a one-score game or a couple points where a field goal could have made the difference, or just a good defensive stop, and it just sucks the life right out of the entire team. They could definitely be a playoff contender right now if they didn't have some bad bounces in so many games.
I think if they'd have stopped that Washington game, they would be right there nipping on the heels with Green Bay. I think they'd both be similar record-wise, 10-4, 9-5, and they'd be really, because a bad loss will ruin everything. It'll ruin your mindset and take all the momentum away, and you just feel like, you start questioning your life decisions, like, did I really need to eat that peanut butter sandwich last night, or should I have gone with toast instead? And it just makes you question everything,
Yeah, mental strength is just as important as physical strength in this game.
And he's got sleigh bells on, dude. He's ready to go.
Oh man,
he is just. I mean, he's so ready for the holiday. He looks like a little elf. So let's bring him in. It's our own Coach Blackwell. Coach.
Hi Terry. Hi Adam. Merry Christmas.
Can I just tell you, the green felt looks fabulous.
I got this over in Paris over on the weekend, and I was just watching these other fashion things in the NFL this weekend, and I was so excited to get on my Christmas spirit. We get Christmas football too. Yay.
2 games tomorrow on Netflix, sir.
Now, that's going to be sad for the people that just don't have Netflix, but I'm sure they'll find it somewhere.
Yeah, I think there's a deal with local media, so if you're like a fan of somebody and your local affiliate will carry that game.
Well, let's talk about the fashion for the last weekend that just happened. So it was week 16. I think everybody's kind of out of their big shockers, this is going to be what we wear this week, and we're going to change the combination. I think that's all over for the season. I think we're just going to see some basic bitch uniforms from here on out.
I agree with you. I agree with you, and I think part of that's just marketing. They could sell those jerseys for Christmas, and now that Christmas is over, we're not going to do it anymore.
It was a very monochromatic week, too. So Arizona, Cleveland, Detroit, Indianapolis, New York Giants, and the Saints all came out in white. They went white tops and bottoms.
Well, it's Christmas, sure. Snow. Let it snow.
I guess it's a snow. Then Seattle and Tennessee, they both came out navy head to toe. Helmets, tops, bottoms, navy head to toe, both those teams. The Jets kind of shocked me. They came out in green. I guess they were feeling the elf spirit, and they had green head to toe. So very monochromatic so far. Baltimore, purple with the black helmets, purple. They look like a little Crown Royal bag.
That is such a good look, though, man.
It's pretty hot. They call it the purple rain, and not rain as in what's pouring from the sky. About raining.
REIGN, rain, like you're like a king. Yeah.
Speaking of rain, Atlanta came out in their Third Reich throwbacks again.
Third Reich throwbacks. Somewhere Adolf Reichman is just smiling.
I don't like the look. I don't like the logo. I'm sorry, Atlanta, you're just not doing it for me. It's bringing up bad vibes for our Jewish community. Anyway, moving on. Some of my favorites this week. Carolina comes out. They get a win, too, wearing all black.
That was a good look. That was a really good look.
And then we don't see it very often, but Miami brought out the aqua jerseys.
The 1970s aqua jerseys with the orange highlights. Yeah, that's.
I love a good aqua. And then finally, my favorite uniform. Well, it's a love it or hate it. I'm going to be honest. The Buffalo Bills come out with a new look. They come out in red jerseys on white. And I was so confused in this game.
At first, I thought it was orange, and I thought it was. Wait a minute, Denver's already played.
Yeah, the red jerseys, I don't know, on the white, they looked like they were wearing the New England throwback uniforms, and I was like, wait, they're playing New England. Who's New England? I don't know. But it was a good look. I wish they would have done something different. I wish they would have brought out the old logo, the old Buffalo white helmet with the red buffalo on it, or change the color of the helmet. Make it blue or something. Give it some pizzazz.
Make it pop.
Yeah, you got to make it pop. Anyway, that's it for me on the fashion. I'm hoping there's some for the next couple weeks. I only got 2 more weeks with you boys. So I'm hoping that we're going to see something new and exciting that I can just go, that's delicious looking. Speaking of delicious, I've got some cookies that I have to go tend to, and I want to wish you boys a very Merry Christmas. I'll be thinking about you. I hope that you boys get wonderful things in your stockings. I hope I get my stocking stuffed too.
I'm sure you do, Coach. So thanks for stopping by, and Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, boys.
And let's look ahead to games with playoff implications. We're not going to tell you about who the Bears are playing because you don't care. And I think it's pretty similar to the Patriots. Nobody's really they're not in the playoffs. Nobody cares outside of Adam and I.
Yeah, so we've got some games that we have to pick. I guess we're calling Christmas games prime time. So
number one out of the box, we have AFC game, the Chiefs at Pittsburgh.
George Pickens will be back in the lineup for the Steelers, so I think you're going to see a different offense.
Man, this is tough because
it's a tough game. It's a tough game to pick because the Chiefs are somehow unbeatable.
They are, but Pittsburgh they don't have back-to-back losses very often.
Yeah, and the terrible towels will be out. They're pretty healthy. I'm going to take Steelers on this one.
I think I'm joining you. I really do.
Yeah,
because I think the Chiefs can pull it off. What's the other late window game?
Ravens at Texans. So this is funny because both these teams played Saturday against the opposite team. So Chiefs played the Texans and the Ravens played the Steelers. Now we got the Chiefs playing the Steelers and the Ravens playing the Texans.
I think I'm going to go Ravens on this one.
I think I'm going to go Ravens as well. I think the Ravens have a lot more to play for. And if the Steelers win, there's going to be a lot of motivation. Well, if the Steelers lose, there's going to be motivation for the Ravens to win. But if the Steelers win, they got to keep pace with them.
Right.
And they get the opportunity to see what happens in the game before them because these games are not happening at the same time. Now, they are in Texas or Houston, and Texas is going to be donning their H-Town uniforms because I saw the logo change on the NFL's website. They always change the logo when they go with the alternate uniforms.
Right.
So they got the big H up. So I don't know if that's we'll have to ask Coach next week if he's done any stats. He doesn't seem like a stats guy to me.
No, he seems more like a vibe than a stat. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just curious about wins, losses in alternative uniforms.
That'd be an interesting statistic to find out because
right?
I bet Vegas or one of the sports books has numbers on
Somebody
that.
does.
Yeah.
Somebody does. There's a prop bet on that somewhere.
I'm sure.
So I'll take the Ravens. You take the Ravens. That's going to wrap up Christmas Day tomorrow.
And that brings us to the Saturday games, which we have to pick.
We only have to pick the prime time. We don't have to pick the early and late window games just want
to do the 7:00 game. Okay.
Yeah, anything prime time. So Christmas is a special day. So we're gonna pick prime time games. That's a prime time window. But
the prime time game,
this time of year they do Saturdays a lot just to kind of balance the schedule.
Well, that and college is over, so they don't have to worry about stepping on college toes. So that brings us to there's only one game at 7:00 on Saturday that actually has some playoff implications. It's Arizona at the Chargers, and the Chargers are not really.
Oh, the Rams, you mean?
Or Rams, same. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's Arizona against the Rams, and the Rams are not quite – they haven't locked that division up yet, so this has a little bit of implications in the playoffs.
Oh, I think we missed one. I think we missed one first.
What's that?
We missed Thursday night.
I don't see it listed here.
Yeah, Thursday night.
Well, Thursday
December 26th, or as us Canadians call it, Boxing Day.
I know why I missed it because it's
the Bears.
I'm looking on my NFL app, and because the Bears are my favorite team, they always put those in a different bracket. They put your favorite team in a different bracket. Yeah, they put it
as the top because it's a favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got Seahawks at the Bears. I can't pick the Bears right now. I'm going Seahawks.
Yeah, I can't. I can't either. I can't.
They have something. They have something to play for. The Bears just are playing for pride at this point.
And the Seahawks are still playing. There's some seeding issues going on in the West, so the Seahawks are going to play hard.
Well, and that's what jogged my memory on going back to Thursday, because we're talking about Cardinals-Rams Saturday night. Cardinals are eliminated from the playoffs, but the Rams aren't.
Yeah, they can play spoiler to the Rams, right?
Right. So Rams, man, how do you put up 44 points in a week and then back to kicking field goals for 2 weeks after that?
They've been really uneven all year long, dude.
I think the Cardinals could play spoiler here.
They could, and judging by the way the Cardinals have played the last couple of seasons, I can see them wanting to play spoiler and kick people out of the playoffs just because they're in the same division, and it always makes you feel good to hurt one of your divisional opponents, you know?
So we got them going into SoFi, so the Rams home that they share with the Chargers. Cardinals did look pretty good. They almost pulled off a win on the weekend. It was a close game.
Yeah.
But, sloppy football again. We're talking about sloppiness. Who you got, Cardinals or Rams?
I think I'm going to go Rams.
Okay, I will take the Cardinals because I just, they're divisional anyway, right? So it's going to be a close game. Yeah, and I think the Cardinals just have more dynamic offense. Like until the Rams consistently can put up more than 20 points on the board, game in, game out, I think the Rams are just in a playoff spot because of luck right now.
And there's another game that has some playoff implications. We don't need to pick them, but just to make sure the boys and girls are aware.
Absolutely.
We have Dallas at Philadelphia. That's a divisional game. Philly's trying to keep up with what's going on with Detroit, so that'll be a good game. We have
it looks like Philly's going to be wearing throwbacks by the looks of the logo on the NFL website right now. They got the old eagle.
And we have Carolina at Tampa Bay. That division's wide open. Tampa Bay needs to win that one to keep up with Atlanta. So that'll be a pretty good game, I think. That'll be super interesting. Panthers are actually playing really good football at this time of year. They are. They've really stepped it up since they brought back.
They're losing by 3 points.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of clock management and stuff. I think this team is actually really good, even though on paper it doesn't look like it.
And another one, both teams are already in the playoffs, and I don't think it's going to affect the seeding a whole lot, but another one to watch, Green Bay at Minnesota.
Oh, I think this is going to affect everything, to be honest. The Vikings have to win this game.
That's a late window game too, boys and girls. So if you want to look for something for
the
late
Vikings
window.
have to win this game, and Green Bay just had a lights out Monday Night Football game. They benched Josh Jacobs for the second half of the game.
Yeah.
And so they're keeping him healthy. The Packers want this more than the Vikings do, I believe, but you've got on the Vikings side with the way Sam Darnold's playing, and they've got those bookends. They've got Jefferson and Addison just playing lights out football. These guys never drop a fucking ball.
Is it just me, or does Josh Jacobs looks like if the Hallmark Channel had a Christmas movie about the Mahomes, he'd be Patrick Mahomes?
just to spice it up a bit for that diversity.
Yeah, he looks to me like a Hallmark Channel portrayal of Patrick Mahomes for some reason.
I love watching him in interviews. He's very personable. He's very articulate. He's a smart football player too. So
that brings us to
Vikings Packers. I don't know. That one's going to be a coin flip. It'll be interesting to watch.
It should be a good game. I'm kind of looking forward to that, to be honest with you. And that brings us Sunday Night Football. Again, some playoff implications in this one for the Falcons. They need to win to stay up. Tampa Bay and them are nip and tuck right now. So
both these teams actually.
Yeah.
If you think about it, Falcons need to win to win the division. If Tampa Bay wins in the afternoon, because that could be a flip flop if one wins and one loses. It doesn't really matter for the Falcons because they have the tiebreaker. But if Falcons lose and Tampa wins, it's a flip again.
Yeah.
Commanders need to try to better their wild card seeding at this point.
They do. They need to secure a little better
and they beat Philly. If Philly loses out and Commanders win out, they have the tiebreaker against them.
Right. And if they don't, there's still a chance they can get a home wild card game. So you want to have the highest seed as possible.
Yeah, it's all about seeding at this point. I know the Commanders have clinched a playoff spot. Falcons haven't yet. Who wants it more? Who's the better team? I think the Commanders are the better team, to be honest.
I do too. I think the Commanders go ahead and pull this one off.
Yeah, well, after they beat, the Eagles with 5 turnovers and still come back to win, there's something magical about that team.
And that brings us to Monday Night Football. Not a lot of playoff implications because I don't think the Niners have a chance. It's Detroit at Niners.
Yeah. So historically, the Niners have put the Lions to bed, but they haven't played this Lions team.
They haven't, and this is the first time the Lions have been on Monday Night Football in forever, I think.
Yeah, I gotta take the Lions on this one.
Me too.
Even with 20, people on IR, 20 players on IR right now for the Lions, they're probably gonna get a player or two back this week. So they're getting healthier at the right time of year. That next man up gritty mentality that they've had has got them through a lot of games.
And they're going to get a little healthy. They're not going to get everybody back, but if they get that first week bye, and a lot of the way these injuries are going to trend, if they get the first week bye, their first home game, they should get back like 12 of the people that are injured on defense.
Yeah, even if they get a half a dozen, they get 6 guys back. Oh my God, that's a different team again.
Yeah. Another game that has some playoff implications, not a lot, but Philadelphia at 12-3 going into Dallas. Dallas is already eliminated, but if the Eagles win, they clinch the East. That should be noted. And then we talked about Rams-Cardinals. If the Rams win, they clinch the West. And if the Falcons win, they clinch the South. So,
yeah, so I'm going to be watching some kind of like outliers just because of that wild card in the chase sort of thing, even though we don't, because anything can happen. It always comes down to week 18 and, 3 teams have to lose, 2 teams have to win, and then, the Colts are in the playoffs or something like that. Well, like they have these weird things, right?
Denver can clinch if they beat the Bengals. That can be a clinch. And the Chargers can clinch a playoffs as well against the Patriots. So that's
and I think the Chargers are going to have a hard time with the Patriots the way that they're playing football. And for the Patriots, it's about pride, contracts, and this is my only chance for my prediction to come true is to give my Patriots a 4-win season that I've been talking about since week 1.
It'll be okay, little buddy. It'll be okay.
I would just like a prediction to come true because I'm absolutely trash on picks. Currently, Terry, we didn't bring the boys and girls up to speed last week. You have you have a record of 37-20 on our picks this year. I have fallen below 500 once again. I'm like the Bucks and the Falcons right now. Like I'm up and I'm down. I'm up and I'm down. I have a record of 28-29.
So I've pretty much already won for the year. You can't catch me.
Well, we got playoffs coming, man. Who knows? Maybe we start flipping scripts, and I don't know. Well, yeah, you've pretty much won the season. But next week I might just go bold because week 18 anything can happen.
I'm the number 1 seed.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get into a wild card spot here, man. It'd be great if we did this with a couple of listeners and stuff every year, so that we could actually have like a multi-way race, like a division or a conference, and be like, okay.
We should invite somebody, like, I don't know, make like my friend Chris. He's not part of the show, but just invite him to be part of the calling of games, and maybe somebody in Canada as well, and make it a four horse race.
I can get a person or two, and then I could just give them a sheet and say, here's this week's. You pick who you want, and then we'll just have a big tally next year, next season.
Make it a 4-horse race.
I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of give back to our listeners too, and kind of get them more involved, so it's kind of a more fluid instead of us just kind of yapping back and forth.
Any other housekeeping tidbits for us?
No, it's it's the holidays. It's the most wonderful time of the year because we're getting to see what the playoff picture looks like. This is my favorite time of year for football.
Well, that does it for all of us here at Straight Off the Couch. For my broadcast partner, Duke Kaboom. Duke, where can they find you at?
All right, so you can find me at Adam Off the Couch on X and the Gram. You can find our stuff on Facebook, facebook.com, Straight Off the Couch, or you could just check us out on Linktree. We have a Straight Off the Couch there where we have all of our podcast platforms, providers, whatever you want to call them. We're on every podcast platform. So if you have a favorite, we're probably there. How about you, Terry?
You can find me on the X at TREMUP. That's at TREMUP. You can find me on the Gram at Tear'emUpTerry. For my broadcast partner, the ever affable and effervescent Adam Whitehall. You know what? Have a nice Christmas. Enjoy some football.
Make sure you leave some yellow flags out for Patrick Mahomes tonight.
It is the most wonderful time of the year, and that's not because it's Christmas, it's because it's NFL playoff time. So, everybody, be safe, God bless, enjoy time with your family, enjoy the football. Until next week, so long, everybody.
Merry Christmas.